While the debate over whether or not baby boxes should be a way for someone to surrender an infant, an unwanted one, continues, we're taking a closer look at one of the issues at the center of the whole thing.
Do those boxes fall under the safe haven law? 15 Finds Out investigator Alyssa Ivinson sat down with two legal experts and discovered that question has more than one answer. She continues her investigation tonight. Alyssa?
Well, as we've been covering the controversy surrounding baby boxes, we told you about the two interpretations of the safe haven law. The state says someone who uses a baby box is not protected by the law. But the baby box's attorney says the opposite. So we've got one law, two opinions. Which one is right? Which would win in court? Well, we went to an Indiana Tech law professor and a former prosecutor to find out. We discovered it might take a change in the law to have an answer.
The gist of this problem is that it's a multifaceted public policy issue.
That is the nature of practicing law, that, you know, how a statute is interpreted.
Indiana's safe haven law, code that's now at the center of the controversy surrounding baby boxes. It allows someone to give up an infant less than 30 days old and not be prosecuted for abandonment. In a recent letter exchange, 15 Finds Out reported the director of the Department of Child Services wrote baby boxes are in conflict with the safe haven law, saying it requires a person to surrender the infant to an actual person, defined as an emergency medical services provider, and that if someone used a baby box, it could trigger a DCS investigation. But Safe Haven Baby Box's attorney argues the law does not require a person-to-person handoff. What does the law itself say? It uses phrases like emergency medical services provider taking custody of a child and any person who leaves a child with an emergency medical services provider.
And so the question really hinges on what does it mean to give custody to a provider?
Yvonne Lindgren is an assistant professor at Indiana Tech Law School.
It's not clear from the language of the statute.
Former prosecutor Michael Loomis agrees.
When you start wading into it, you see both sides of the issue.
15 Finds Out asked Loomis and Lindgren to examine the safe haven law.
Right now, there's one Indiana code, two opinions on that code.
Right.
And do you think both could be argued with the way the law is written right now?
I do. I think both could be argued persuasively the way the law is written. What does it mean to relinquish custody? Does it have to be a personal face-to-face handoff? That is how the DCS is interpreting the law. As a law professor, I will say that the fact that you put the baby into the box and then it closes and it locks, to me, that is a pretty solid transfer of custody.
Whether a baby box can be considered an emergency medical services provider under the safe haven law. The law doesn't specifically address that issue, and it needs to be resolved so that there is a clear understanding.
If a case were to go to court with the way the law is now, arguments could turn to the intent of the law.
I think a person could be charged and perhaps even prosecuted. I think it's doubtful whether they could be convicted for the reason that the neglect statute uses the words knowingly or intentionally. That requires specific intent. When a person is doing just the opposite, trying to relinquish that baby to society to get assistance for that baby, I don't think that constitutes neglect.
If you were still in a prosecuting role, would you pursue charges, or do you think that charges would be pursued if baby boxes were used as the statute is written today?
As the statute is written today, I would not prosecute a person for neglect of a dependent for surrendering a baby to a baby box. I just don't see the evidence of specific intent, knowingly or intentionally, placing that child in danger, and that's what the neglect statute is all about.
The safe haven law has been on the books since 2000, and Loomis and Lindgren say it now falls to lawmakers to clarify it.
There is a legitimate gray area in the law. I don't think that the law is written specifically enough to require an in-person handoff, even though that is how the DCS argues it should be interpreted. I think the law does need to be redrafted to be more specific.
State Senator Travis Holdman has told me he plans to bring baby boxes up for discussion in the next legislative session, saying there are gaps in the law. Now, there are two baby boxes in Indiana right now, one in Woodburn. Two more are expected to be installed in central Indiana soon. In Studio 15, Alyssa Ivinson, News Channel 15.